Hello and welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get new episodes delivered to your feed each week. I'm your host, Steve Plumb, Editor-in-Chief for SME Media. I'm joined today by Sam Schroeder and Corey Dahlberg, who are part of the SME Bright Minds Student Mentorship Program, which was launched 3 years ago as a partnership between SME Membership and the SME Education Foundation for SME Education Foundation's scholarship recipients. Corey is a mechanical design engineer at Sloan Valve Company and is the director and board member for SME's Chapter 5 in Chicago. Sam is a second-year mechanical engineering student at Northern Illinois University. So welcome to the program, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Hello, thank you for having us.
So to start with, I was wondering if each of you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got involved in the mentorship program. Corey, why don't we start with you?
Being involved in SME and some of the different outreach programs when the mentorship program came up, it looked like a good opportunity to get involved in. We have our own mentorship program at Sloan, and so I thought it would be a great opportunity to work with people outside of the company in the same capacity.
Yeah, Sam?
When I was wrapping up high school and looking at college, I got an email for the SME Bright Minds Scholarship Program, and I applied and I got accepted, and I am able to be at Northern with an SME scholarship, and I'm able to interact and be in this great mentorship program, and it's really changing and informing my first few years in college here.
Great. And Sam, you got interested in engineering really early on. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how that came about?
Yeah, so my family, we own a race car engine shop, Automotive Engine Specialties in Elk Grove. And from a very young age, I was there turning wrenches, running machines, and I've always had an interest in working with my hands and in engineering products. And I was gifted a 3D printer one Christmas and took up CAD and started designing things on my own. And really from there, I found that engineering is really my passion. And then throughout high school, I was able to engage in the Project Lead the Way program, along with taking a class offered by only my high school called Robotics and Controls, where I really found that like manufacturing and manufacturing processes and like robotic controls is a big passion of mine through learning on Fanuc robots at my high school.
And Corey, you have a mentorship program at Sloan. Were you involved in that?
Yes. Yeah, it's something that we set up for, I have my own mentor, and then I've got, one or two mentees within the company. And it's set up to mostly try and get some of that cross training between some of the more experienced engineers and some of the newer engineers.
How long have you been involved with that?
I think most of the entire time I've been there. So 6, almost 7 years now.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about how the two of you connected, what the process was like in the first meeting.
Very early on, after I received my scholarship, I got to look at a selection of mentors from SME of sort of who I feel like I would mesh the best with. I got to see sort of what industry they're in, what their job is, what their interests are, what their hobbies are. And I was able to essentially rank what my top 3 choices would be. And Corey, being a mechanical engineer and being close by, was a high up pick for me. And 2, we share a lot of interests. So I got to choose him, and we got connected through SME, and then we were able to have meetings together throughout the last year pretty regularly to sort of talk about what I'm doing in school, what he's doing in industry, and sort of how what I'm doing in my classwork, sort of how he sees that's being applied, and sort of ways I can make myself marketable for employers and things like that.
On my end, it was a little different. It was more or less kind of throwing my name into a hat and, kind of seeing where things ended up at that point. So getting connected with Sam, I thought it was great that, it was someone that was local. And the town that he's going to school in is one that I actually grew up in when I was younger, before I moved away from the state. So it was a lot of neat little things. And Sam's definitely a tinker, and I'm very much in the same boat. I've got my own printer sitting behind me that's running pretty much every other day. So we get along pretty well on those lines.
So what was the first meeting like? What were some of the objectives that you set out to accomplish?
I think I tried to lay the groundwork for understanding what Sam wanted to get out of this and seeing if we could set some goals and objectives for where we wanted to go in the mentoring relationship.
And it was very much the same on my side, where just sort of, gauging where we can find common ground and really just sort of, communicating what I'm wanting out of this, and being able to really just establish a nice rapport between us, and really figure out, what we have in common, and sort of where we can share experiences and things like that.
Now, had you already started school at that point, or did you actually meet?
I think I was 2 or 3 weeks into school at that point.
So you'd already kind of set your first semester's classes and had a little bit of a game plan. But how did Corey help you shape that and provide some guidance?
So a lot of where his help came in was me making myself marketable at the many job fairs that happen here at Northern, and really talking about like what employers are looking at on resumes, talking points I should hit while talking to employers. And two, last year I worked on a project where I was optimizing an intake manifold for our Formula SAE team here. And he gave me some tips on how I could more efficiently project manage my own project, and then how I can communicate my objectives and results to other people on the team as I was working through that process.
So I know a little bit about Formula SAE, but imagine a lot of our listeners don't know too much about it. Can you explain a little bit what that is, and especially with your family's background in business?
Yeah. So Formula SAE is a competition where schools from all around the globe design and build open wheel, open cockpit Formula style race cars. They're built once a year from the ground up, and each school, most schools in the country that have an engineering program will build a car and then compete in Michigan once a year based on a few things, like there's design reviews, there's project management reviews, and then there's an actual like autocross and endurance race event that happens.
And how big was the team? You said you were the project manager?
I was the project manager for the intake manifold. So I think last year we had an average of about 30 people. And now this year I am the lead of powertrain development. So that's engine, that includes the intake manifold, the exhaust, all of the cooling components, and all of the driveline. And this year from recruitment, one of our censuses showed we had about 70 people, which is a huge increase from last year. And just on powertrain this year, I have about 25 people.
How'd the team do last year?
At our main competition in Michigan, we were having some technical issues and we weren't able to make it all the way to the actual driving event. But we got through the design events, and we were very, very close to actually making it on track. And then at a later event, at an event called the Pittsburgh Shootout, we were able to get on track and actually get some track time and it's the first time that our club has hit the track in, I believe, 11 years.
Wow. So, Corey, did you have any experience in the intake manifolds before you started talking to Sam about this? And more importantly, what were some of the advice that you gave him as far as being a project manager?
It was a lot more soft skills stuff. Dan's pretty sharp. He was already on it from like the CFD and FEA background, so didn't actually have to give too much help there. But it was more just, how do you collaborate together? How do you communicate together? And setting goals and objectives. There's a lot more of that.
How'd you like being a project manager, Sam?
I find it very rewarding. I find it very interesting to see a project like that from start to finish, and to be able to just immerse myself in that process, to design studies, to look at results, interpret data, and then make informed decisions about what direction the project should go from there. I find that to be one of the most rewarding activities a person can do.
Was there a lot of repeat team members that came back for the next year?
Yes, I think like 75, maybe 80% of the people that were present last year are returning.
Well, that speaks well to your management skills.
Well, thank you.
So, how often do the two of you meet, and what's the schedule like? The agendas. What do you hope to plot out for the rest of this year?
Well, we were consistent. It was maybe once every other week.
Yeah, and then as far as objectives, I said at the beginning, like we had kind of discussed what did Sam want to get out of this, and so I had my own notes more or less. I was kind of tracking along. I'd made a skeleton at the beginning, just kind of going over those different topics, but then throughout, I would try to circle back on making sure that he was getting out of this what he wanted to, and making sure that the things he had touched on in the very first meeting, we would at least hit those by the end of the school year.
Any challenges that came through the process? I mean, obviously, just making time for each other. Corey, you have a full-time job, and Sam, you're busy at school as well as with things like the SAE formula.
I think just our biggest challenge was more meeting consistently. We were really always able to, early on, we were able to meet every other week. But as I got closer to finals and as things were really gearing up for formula, I know I got very busy, and it became difficult for me to really hit those meeting goals consistently. But I wouldn't say we ever really completely fell out of touch or became strangers. Really, the mentorship has allowed us to be in contact as much as we're able to, even during the most busiest times.
Yeah, I think from the other end, I haven't been in school for 15 years. And so as he was getting ready on finals, it was one of those where, you kind of lose the intensity of those memories. And so he would talk about how he's getting ready for finals. I was thinking, cool, good luck. And then it wasn't a big deal in my mind. And then winter break and spring break, like, again, you don't get those breaks when you're in industry. So it was a lot of just, hey, Sam, are you able to meet? And then it was just, oh yeah. But then there was also, Sam was very flexible with the fact that, being in industry, you get meetings thrown on you that sometimes you have to shift things around. So having to shift around our discussion times where Sam was really flexible with that.
That was one thing I wanted to ask you, Corey, being that you've been out of education for 15 years. Have you noticed much of a change in the environment and atmosphere just from what Sam has been able to relay to you as far as what's top of mind for students, what their demands are, especially going through COVID and that, and just anything different than from your memories?
No, I think oddly enough for us, COVID happened between me leaving school and him getting into school. So it was I don't think it was too much of a discussion. But it was, yeah, it was actually reminiscent to me. It reminded me, it brought back a lot of memories from when I was in school. And it felt, at least the way that Sam described it, it felt like oddly the same. We didn't get into, I know there's lots of talk these days about things in the news. We didn't really go into those kinds of topics too much. We're pretty focused on, engineering industry classes, SAE. So on those things, it did feel similar. It was nice to see that the structure's still there, or at least reminiscent of what I remember.
Was Sam taking similar courses to what you had taken?
Yeah, yeah. I give him credit though. This might be touching into a different topic, but him being involved in SAE, it was something that I watched from the sidelines when I was in school. I thought it was cool. I didn't really see the value in it. But I didn't have a mentor in my life that, I definitely encouraged him, hey, stay in that. Like that is so practical and applicable getting out into industry, something I wish I would have done.
So another thing that the two of you have in common, Corey, you're in a leadership role with the local chapter for SME. How long have you been involved in that?
I think coming up on 2 years for the role.
And Sam, I know you're trying to start a student chapter at Northern Illinois. Any advice for Sam on that end? And Corey, were you involved in a student chapter?
No, I was not.
So what have you seen interest from your fellow students, Sam?
Yes, I am seeing a ton of interest. So right now, just because the organization is so new here, I'm spending a lot of time on making an organization constitution that allows the organization to really grow into not just what I see the organization should be, but what other students are going to see the organization needs to be in the future. And I'm seeing, I get asked maybe once a week by multiple people on, hey, how's it going? How's your progress? Who've you talked to? Things like that. And I not only do I see interest from students, but I'm seeing a ton of interest from faculty and even other people in the industry that I interact with on a daily basis, that I tell people about, who are excited about being involved and interested in seeing the progress of that organization.
And what would you say the benefits are, Corey, from being so involved in a chapter?
It's getting to see even more to manufacturing, and I will say by industry, I am not necessarily a manufacturing engineer at all. So getting involved in SME, I was very interested to see where that would take me, and it's getting to meet many different people from a lot of different manufacturing backgrounds. Even some of the people that are on the board with me, there's a few of them that actually are not even engineer, or maybe I should say engineers, but they don't have an engineering background. So it's just kind of that networking and seeing what's in industry. And then there's also all the education courses certification courses that get offered within SME.
So, Sam, what would you say the best advice Corey has given to you during the year-long mentorship to date?
Well, I think he's sort of touched on that already, is how he's encouraged me to work in these organizations and be involved with my university. I find I just get a lot more out of my classes, being able to apply my classwork, and just having the networking and the connections with my students and faculty here, or well, my fellow students and faculty here. I really find that his advice in staying involved is really what helps me feel connected to my classwork in my university here. And that's really been a huge help throughout my entire time here so far.
So what's next for you? Have your career goals become more defined or changed? You mentioned 3D printing. What would be your dream job?
For the longest time, I've always thought being in aerospace, like mechanical engineering and aerospace generally. But with the class I took in high school, that robotics and controls class, and having the exposure to just manufacturing through SME and going to IMTS last year, really my career goals now are getting into a more manufacturing setting. Really, I feel like manufacturing is the most interesting to me, and I feel like I and even the rest of the world has the most future in really focusing on manufacturing. And that's why, to me, SME is so important, because it's a gateway for manufacturing, and not only for myself discovering that manufacturing is what I want to do, but also for other students discovering that manufacturing is what they want to do too.
So, Corey, what would you say to people that are considering becoming a mentor, whether it's in this program or just in general?
I think it's a very fulfilling, but also, yeah, honestly, easy way to kind of give back and pay it forward to the upcoming generations. It's, um, I don't know. I'd say there was a number of our conversations that were simply just me telling stories of industry or of school, and who doesn't like retelling stories of things that they've gone through? But it's something that I know I didn't have that early on in my career. I kind of navigated my career and my schooling almost entirely on my own. And it's one of those that I wish I'd had someone giving me some real feedback of what industry was going to be like, and some real pointers for how to best position for industry and how to navigate through it.
And Sam, what about you as far as recommending something like this for high school students as they enter college?
All I can say is it's been really essential for me, sort of integrating into college, and understanding sort of what my goals are and what I'm wanting to get out of college here. I can't recommend enough for students to get involved and try to get into the 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 mentorship position, because it's been so unbelievably helpful for me. And let alone, I think it's really important for anybody, students, high school students, college students, or even professionals, to get involved in SME, because there's so much that there is to offer, and there's so much to learn and understand in doing that.
And down the road, do you see yourself becoming a mentor at some point? And you may already be doing some of that as a project manager for your Formula SAE team.
Yes, definitely. I know how helpful it's been for me. And I would really love to be able to offer what I've learned and gotten out of this in college, and pass that down to other people as well. I really, really do see myself being a mentor.
Great. Well, thanks both of you for joining us today. Anything that either of you would like to add at this point?
I want to say thank you for having us both. It means a lot to be able to talk about, with SME, and I'm very passionate about SME, and what SME is here for. And I'm so excited to see where the rest of this mentorship goes.
I'd like to say, again, thanks for having us on. Like Sam said, it's good to be able to talk about this. I know that some people don't know how to approach, or they don't know what to expect going into a mentorship program, and it's honestly, it's rewarding, and it's worth the time. It was worth I don't know what, maybe an hour every other week, like you said, Sam. It wasn't a ton of time, but it was rewarding, even on my end. So, and happy to see that Sam seems to have appreciated the time as well.
Great. Well, I look forward to checking in with both of you, another year or so, and see how you're doing. But Sam, Corey, thanks again for joining us today, and good luck on your continued success as part of the mentorship program. And for more information, listeners can visit the Bright Minds Mentorship Program section on sme.org. And to learn more about the latest manufacturing trends and hear more of our podcasts, visit advancedmanufacturing.org and be sure to subscribe to our feed.